Hello everyone, I'm Shankha Subra Sanyal. Before begin this session, I would like to thank you all for your overwhelming response. I found a lot of mails in my mailbox. Thank you so much for your responses. Thank you so much for responding and making me feel privileged. Well, as always, I begin today's session with a small quote. It is said that in case your plans doesn't work, you change the plans, but please do not change the goals. It may appear at times that when you are in the path towards your objective, that you might not be achieving it by a particular plan. You might change that, but make sure you do not lose sight of your objective. Your goal should be fixed, right? Today, in this session, this is the second of the series where I'm going to talk to you about the effects of friction and the types of friction. I believe this is going to be an interesting session. So let's begin the session.
It has been found by experiments that the friction between two surfaces depends on two factors. Firstly, the nature of the two surfaces, I mean the smoothness or roughness of the two surfaces, and the force with which two surfaces are pressed together. The force of friction, however, does not depend on the amount of surface area of the two objects which are in contact with each other. Let us now study how the friction depends on the nature of the two surfaces as well as on the force with which the two surfaces are pressed together. Friction is not the same for all the surfaces. Friction depends on the smoothness or roughness of the two surfaces which are in contact with each other. When the two surfaces in contact are smooth, then the friction between them will be small because the interlocking of smooth surfaces is less. As the degree of roughness of the two surfaces in contact increases, the friction also increases. And when the two surfaces in contact are very rough, then the friction between them will be very large because the interlocking of very rough surfaces is much greater. Let us now study the dependence of friction on the nature of surfaces by performing some activity. Let us make an inclined plane on a smooth marble floor by keeping a wooden board in tilted position with the help of a brick placed behind the wooden board. Let us mark a horizontal line AB with a ballpoint pen on the upper half of the inclined wooden board. Let us hold a pencil cell on the line AB marked on the inclined wooden board and then release it. The pencil cell will move down rapidly from the inclined board and travel a certain distance on the marble floor before coming to rest. The moving pencil cell stops due to friction exerted by the marble floor. Let us note the distance covered by the pencil cell on the marble floor from the base of the inclined board. The distance will give us an idea of the friction between marble floor and the pencil cell. Let us now put some water on the marble floor to make it wet. We repeat the same activity by releasing the pencil cell from the line AB of the inclined board. Again, the pencil cell will travel a certain distance on the wet marble floor before coming to rest. Let us again note the distance traveled by the pencil cell on the wet marble floor. And what do we find? We find that the pencil cell travels a larger distance this time on the wet marble floor, indicating that the friction on wet marble floor is less than that on the dry marble floor. Let us make another arrangement. We make the wet marble floor dry by wiping it. Let us put a sheet of newspaper on the dry marble floor now. And let us repeat the activity of releasing the pencil. What do we find? We find that the pencil cells travels less distance on the newspaper sheet than that on the dry marble floor. This indicates that the friction exerted by the newspaper is more than that exerted by the dry marble floor. Thus, from the activity that we have just discussed, we see that when the surface of marble floor is made more smooth by making it wet with water, the friction with pencil cell decreases. On the other hand, when the surface of marble floor is made more rough by covering it with newspaper or towel, then the friction increases. Thus, the friction depends on the nature, that is the smoothness or roughness of the two surfaces. Friction is caused by the interlocking of irregularities of the two surfaces when one object is placed over the other. If the two surfaces of objects are pressed together harder by a greater force, then the friction will increase, because pressing together two surfaces of object with a greater force will increase the interlocking of the two surfaces. Let us go through an activity to understand this in a much better way. Suppose we have two boxes of the same size, but one box is lighter than the other. If we push both the boxes on the floor one by one, we'll find that we have to apply comparatively a smaller force to make the lighter box move than the heavier one. This shows that there is less friction between the light box and floor, but much more friction between the heavy box and the floor. We know that the weight of the box is also the force which acts in the downward direction. Now, because of its smaller weight, the lighter box presses on the floor with less force, and hence the friction between lighter box and the floor is less. While because of its greater weight, the heavy box presses on the floor with a greater force. Since the surfaces of heavy box and floor are pressed together harder with a greater force, the friction between them increases and becomes much greater. This greater friction does not allow the heavy box to be moved on the floor by applying a small force. A much larger force of our push has to be applied to make the heavy box move on the floor. Friction is basically of three types: static friction, sliding friction, and rolling friction. Let us now describe these three types of friction in a little details, but one by one. The maximum frictional force present between any two objects when one object just tends to move or slip over the surface of the other object is called static friction. Static friction is a kind of starting friction because an object just tends to start moving. It does not actually move. It tends to move, actually does not move. The object remains static or stationary in this case. We can demonstrate the static friction between a wooden block and a tabletop by performing an activity. A wooden block having a hook attached to its one end is kept on the horizontal surface of a table. A spring balance is attached to the hook of the wooden block. We pull the spring balance to the right side with a small force of our hand. This will exert a force on the wooden block. The wooden block, however, does not move because its motion is being opposed by the force of friction, which acts in the opposite direction, which in this case is on the left side. As we increase the pulling force applied on the wooden block through the spring balance, the friction also goes on increasing. But ultimately, when the applied force becomes a little more than the maximum frictional force, the wooden block just tends to move or slip on the surface of the table. This means that the frictional force acting between the wooden block and the tabletop has a maximum value beyond which it cannot increase. The force which we are exerting in making the wooden block just tend to move or slip is equal but opposite to the force of friction. Wooden block, when it just tends to move or slip on the tabletop, the spring balance shows a reading of say 5 Newton force. This means that the magnitude of static friction between the wooden block and the tabletop is of 5 newtons. So from this discussion, we can conclude that the force required to overcome friction at an instant when an object just tends to start moving from rest is a measure of the static friction. We can say that static friction comes into play when we try to move a stationary object or an object which is at rest. The frictional force present when one object moves slowly or slides over the surface of another object is known as sliding friction. Thus, sliding friction comes into play when an object slides or moves slowly but continuously over another object. Let us demonstrate the sliding friction by extending the activity that we have discussed in case of static friction a little further. We have seen that when a certain force which is equal and opposite to static friction is applied by us, the wooden block just tends to move or sleep on the table. Let us now increase the force applied to pull the wooden block a little more by pulling the spring balance more. We will find that the wooden block begins to slide or move slowly over the tabletop. The force required to keep an object moving slowly or sliding with the same speed is the measure of the sliding friction. It has been found that the force required to keep the wooden block sliding once it has started its slide is less than the static friction. In other words, when an object starts sliding, then the friction is less. This means the sliding friction is smaller than the static friction. For example, if we can, apply say 4 Newton force now, we can easily move the wooden block as we were using 5 Newton over there. So we can easily say sliding friction is smaller than static friction. Since the sliding friction is smaller than the static friction, it is easier to keep an object moving, which is already in motion, than to move the same object from rest or stationary position. That's why sliding friction is smaller or less than the static friction. When an object like a wheel rolls over the surface of another object, the resistance to its motion is called rolling friction. It is always easier to roll than to slide an object over another object. So rolling friction is much less than sliding friction. Thus, rolling reduces friction. We'll describe this through an activity. Let us keep our thick book on a table. Now let us push the book with our hand. We will find that it is not easy to push the thick book lying on the table. We have to apply fairly large amount of force to make the book move on the table. This is because when the book lying directly on the surface of the table moves, then sliding friction comes into play. The large sliding friction between the surface of table and bottom of the book makes the book comparatively difficult to move. Now take 3 round pencils and put it below the book. What we will find? Now if we push the book with our hand, we would find that the book starts moving easily in the forward direction. We have to apply a very small amount of force in this case. Thus, it is much more easy to move a book placed on rollers than to slide it directly over the surface of the table. So, we may say that it is much easier to move an object kept on rollers than to slide it, because rolling friction is much less than sliding friction. We can conclude that when an object rolls over another object, then rolling friction comes into play between them. rolling friction is much smaller than sliding friction. Since rolling friction is much less than sliding friction, it is very easy and convenient to pull heavy luggage fitted with rollers. Heavy machines can be easily moved from one place to another by placing round logs of wood under them and then pushing with a force of the hands. The round logs of wood acts as rollers or kind of wheels and make it much easier to move the heavy machine from one place to another which is kept on it. We must note that the rollers turn around like the wheels and take the block forward. Thus rollers are kind of wheels. We can now understand why wheels is said to be one of the greatest inventions of mankind. This is because wheels greatly reduce friction and hence can be used to move even heavy objects like cars, buses, trucks, and trains rather easily.
Well, this brings us to the end of lecture number 2, where we have discussed about the effects of friction, and we have also tried to explore what are the different types of friction. Before I sign off, I would request you all to kindly write to me if you have any queries, if there is any part that you feel that needs to be revisited. It would be a privilege on my part to address your queries. Please write to me at sanyal.shankha@gmail.com. It's given on the screen. And please send your worksheets to the respective IDs as given in the website. Thank you so much.